Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special conversation with Austin Robinson and Deborah Garcia, the co-founders of Eternal Anchor. I'm John Reichenauer, and we're going to take some time today to look back on the last 10 years and look forward to what lies in the future for Eternal Anchor. From its humble beginnings here in the San Quintin Valley, Eternal Anchor has come a long, long way, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah. Deborah, as you look back, what are the beginnings of Eternal Anchor? What happened that the two of you decided to form this incredible organization?
Well, I would say 11 years ago, Austin and I were working as teachers for another nonprofit where we met, who's now Austin's oldest son, Jesus, who needed severe medical care due to his disability, and we realized there was no home that took children with disabilities in the region. So we thought, let's get him into a home. And we visited every single residential program in the state, and none would take him due to his disability. And they all mentioned how expensive it would be to take another child that needed a lot of medical care. And we both, which I've always thought was really interesting, that we both thought of the Good Samaritan. And one night we were like, I just feel like Jesus is that one person on the road. And he's like, oh my goodness, I've been thinking the exact same thing. And we have the choice. We can keep going with our lives, or we could stop and do something. And we both genuinely felt that we needed to stop. And even though we had no money, and we were repeatedly told that we had no business starting a home for children with disabilities in the area, we genuinely believed that it was something that we had been given the opportunity to do. Never did we know that it would grow into a nonprofit that provides disability services to all people with disabilities in the region. We, at that moment, were just thinking of one child. Yeah.
Austin, looking back over those 10 years, what are some of the challenges and obstacles that you faced, and how have the two of you overcome them?
The obstacles and the challenges have been endless. Starting a nonprofit from zero is hard. Starting a nonprofit with no funding, when you don't know what you're doing, there was a lot of logistics to work out in the early years. The first 2 years, Deborah and I didn't have any money. We didn't have any buildings. We didn't have any assets. I think in the last 10 years, those first 2 years really tested our faith. It was a clear calling that we both felt to walk alongside people with disabilities and their families with not a clear path as to how to do it. It's been a really humbling journey. It seemed that every time we'd run into a challenge or an impossible scenario, somebody would show up with the right skill set, somebody would show up with the right temperament, and the collaborations began to grow exponentially over the years. And that's something, I think, in spite of all of the challenges we've had, collaboration has been what has saved us, I think that's the key to the success of Eternal Anchor. Working with families, working with parents, working with government officials, working with international donors, international professionals, every step of the way, just that humility and desire to work together has been, in spite of every challenge, it's been a really great solution.
So many people have come along for the journey over the years. Staff, volunteers, donors, partners, collaborators, parents, families. What's that been like?
For me, I've always valued diversity. The body of Christ is not all arms, all legs. And so when we started we only operated with local volunteers, which is not something that's very common, and local parents, like a parent co-op. The diversity in lived experience, I think, set a really solid foundation that opened the door for us to collaborate with a diverse group of international professionals and even individuals just passionate about the work that we're doing. We wouldn't look the way we did, that we do now, without our open door policy. Like, we love God, we love these kids, we love San Quintin. If you share that passion, regardless of other differences you may have, you have a seat at the table. And in particular, the people that we really want to see at the table are the locals that have skin in the game. The local parents, the local professionals, even our students who are now adults in our friendship club. We want to see them with a platform to share what this journey has been for them.
Deborah, what are some of the key milestones that stand out for you?
I think for me, one of the biggest ones, and what made Eternal Anchor grow from being a residential program to a school, was having Josefina in our home. Josefina is the mother of Adriel. He has been in our program since the beginning. And she came and advocated for her son. She said, I love that you're able to do this for Jesus, but I don't need my son to be in a residential care program. I would love my son to have the opportunity to be a part of an education program. And when Austin was saying, one of the most important, what makes us stand out from other local nonprofits is the empowerment key, where we are not here to tell the community how to serve or what they need or how their lives are going to be made different. We are here to walk alongside the families. And it started with Josefina when she came and she said, I think it's great that you have a residential program, but that doesn't help me. And this is what I would love to see for my son. And for us to have that humility in that moment and say, okay, not everybody needs a home, and that's okay, but what about the kids that will never learn to read and write and are not accepted in regular school programs? Where is their seat at the table? And can we create another table then for these kids? I think that was one of the biggest milestones. Yeah.
A few weeks ago, Eternal Anchor received the 25th Annual Altruism Award for organizations for the entire state of Baja, California. Looking back on the journey, was there a particular moment in time, or are there some moments that stand out where you thought, gee, we're making a difference here, we're making progress?
I can think of a couple. For me personally, the home, when I'm gonna talk about Karina. When Karina told us that she had considered adopting Dominique, it was about Christmas time. I think it was a week before Christmas. And she told us, I've been praying about it, I'm thinking about it, I've talked to my family, And when I told my mom and she didn't say no, it made me think that maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. And her taking Dominique home, I think she took him home Christmas Eve. That to me is one of the moments where we got to see a shift from having a residential program to now having multiple staff, because Austin adopted Jesus. I have Raul and Mirain. She took Dominique, and then Carmen and her husband are in the process with Pamela. How, when you step out and say, I want to adopt a child and treat them as my own, how other people who maybe never thought that adoption was something for them, how that changes their perspective of family. To me, it was an honor to see that happen, and to be one of the parents that found family thanks to the residential program is one of the highlights for me. The other would be Kevin and Kenny graduating from the Eternal Anchor program after being students for how many years? 8?
From the beginning.
From the beginning. And I mean, their parents also donated the beautiful ranch that we have. And also, what an honor to have their trust for them to donate that land. And what they started as horse therapy many, many years ago is now they've passed that on. And now we're even getting government aid to provide horse therapy for free for some children that could not pay for the service. So lots of good moments to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've talked about the horse therapy, residential program, adoption.
Yes.
Are there particular initiatives or programs that you're just, for you, is a highlight of Eternal Anchor?
The organization started as a home. My heart is in the residential program. Even after stepping out after about 8 years of caregiving, I will never forget or lose my passion for what it means to caregive for children and adults that are stepping out of an institutionalized setting or a setting of trauma and abuse, and having that, not just the burden, but the blessing of being their family and that safe place to land. There is, to date for me, there's no higher honor than having provided that to more than 15, 20 kids that came in and out of our home over the 8-year period that we were both caregivers. I continue to have a passion for residential care, and just echoing what Deborah said, watching our organization grow to an extent where the vision is spreading, where our staff are leading the charge in adoption. It's not just us, it's not just our vision. It was a small ember that turned into a fire that is rapidly growing. To change culture in 10 years, to not just be the head of adoptions in Baja California, but to be the head of disability adoptions, probably in the country, for me, it's revolutionary. And I'm really proud to be a part of it, to share with such amazing people those milestones with the kids. And I hope to see it grow. I hope to see this vision spread in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
What would you say to those who have joined the journey, whether they're local business leaders, local government officials, parents, donors in the U.S. and Canada? What message do you have for them?
For me, I think back, this is my home. I grew up here. And having grown up in this community, I had never seen a person with a disability at the grocery store, at the flea market, growing up, even at church. They just stayed hidden. And I will never forget when somebody told me, after I had told them that my plan was to adopt a child with a disability, that why would I say such a thing when clearly they are a result of unrepented sin in the family. And just starting Eternal Anchor with a background in our community of shame, that if you had a child with a disability, it was shame on you and shame on your family. People were embarrassed of their family member. And who we are today, where Eternal Anchor is now today, just last month in November, we were a part of the desfile, the parade for Revolution Day. And we not only were asked to join the parade, but we were given front of the line. We were asked to sit at the honor table that greets every passing group. And that was an honor. And the families that bring their kids to school today went to the parade with their head held high, proud to see their child. I was a proud mother to have my kids at the parade, to be there with them, to celebrate with our community, and to not be pointed at or receive any sort of treatment that made me feel less than. That is so huge, because 20 years ago, 25, if you were in a wheelchair, you were not allowed in elementary school. If you had a child that had a disability, you were not allowed in church. And when we started Eternal Anchor, I think of even my son, one of my boys, used to be tied in a bed. The reality is that thanks to the hard work of everybody that comes every single day to love on these kids, and the people that trust us with their money, and the volunteers that come and donate their time, thanks to everybody, these kids, my kids, our community, they have a safe place to go where they're thriving. And if there's something that I have learned to see throughout the years, is the way that love changes a person. I think back of when the very first days of a child that has had to share attention with 9 other siblings, of a single mother, and they're struggling, and I get it. But to now come into a classroom where they get undivided attention, where this mom is getting some support, when we receive hope and when people pour into our lives, how love changes us, and that's what Jesus called us to do. So thank you for supporting Eternal Anchor and believing in, not in us, but in believing in providing for children with disabilities in this rural context. To me, it's an honor to see that finally people with disability get to live with dignity and are empowered by loving, kind work that is done at Eternal Anchor.
If you had to sum up Eternal Anchor's mission and ministry in one word or a single phrase, what would it be? Austin?
Hope. Without a doubt, it's hope. I can think across all the contexts of all the different programs that we offer. There is nothing like walking into a government institution and seeing the eyes of a child that has no hope, that does not have a home, that is living in unideal circumstances where there is no love, and taking them home and being a part of the transformation of offering unconditional love, offering a safe place for them to grow and experience community. Watching that transformation and watching the hope come back to their eyes, going into the community and doing a home visit for a single mom that's spent, that has no community support, and saying, you know what, we have a space in our school. Watching the hope transform the family from survival to thriving. To me, that's what we do. And at the beginning of, well before, 6 months before we founded Eternal Anchor officially, Deborah and I were talking about imagery. What's the image of hope? And we both said, an anchor. Life is stormy. Life is difficult. What do we need? What do we deserve? We deserve an anchor. We deserve an anchor that is hope. And for us, for me, it's been the greatest honor of my life to be a part of the journey, not just watching others, but also experiencing the hope, watching my family grow, watching my son become a community changer, from rejected to accepted by everyone. That's hope, and it's changed me, it's changed our community.
Deborah, if we sit here 5 years from now, where's Eternal Anchor?
Oh. I hope that Eternal Anchor is continuing to listen to our community, that we are walking alongside people with disabilities. I hope to see programs run by people with disabilities. And may we never lose focus that we are here in solidarity with those that have not had a voice. And my hope is that they will begin to have that voice, and we get to sit behind them and watch them lead it.
Well, it's clear that the work of Eternal Anchor is truly transformative, not just for those who are served, but for those who are doing the serving.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you both for taking some time out of your day to sit down and reflect back on the past 10 years and to look forward a little bit too. And thank you for joining us. We hope to see you next time.